Alright, come on in. Hit the like button, think about subscribing if you're ready. You're new here, welcome to the channel, but most importantly, welcome to the Viking family. So this is my personal opinion slash review for 2024 action film called The Prosecutor. In the United States, it has come out this year as of last Tuesday. But as of last year, and I believe in China, this is where it originated. Because it has dub as an option, but it's also subtitled. So they're all in Chinese, so speaking. So keep that in mind. But here's the plot. A young man is wrongly charged with drug trafficking after being deceived. And a prosecutor investigates the case, uncovers a corrupt lawyer's team scheme, and restores justice. Here is some of the cast. So this started out like this was going to be really, really good, but it got ridiculous fast. Yes, I know that tends to how Asian martial arts films tend to be, with the over-the-top martial arts fighting with the logic and stuff and fight scenes and stuff, which is fine, normally, unless it's so over the top that it gets ridiculous. Now, this is technically one of the two reasons I tend to avoid Indian or Bollywood films, or what are called the Indian Hollywood version films, as they're way worse with how ridiculous they get with that stuff. And that's just my personal opinion. I know a lot of people like those films. The other issue is obviously they're like usually over 3 hours and 20 to 30 minutes long, which is way over too much, and they tend to milk the scenes, which with this film they do, but it's not really milking it. It's just how they normally are. They're like over the top, big, lots and lots of stunt people fighting and overhead shots and stuff, and it's cool, but there's a point where it starts to get a little bit like really not grounded, so it just kind of has an issue with it. I've seen plenty of Asian films that have had huge action scenes that was more grounded, like I said, like this film, or than this film, sorry. Normally South Korean stuff off the top of my head when it comes to Asian Hollywood films that are martial arts like this. To be fair, there was enough of entertainment, story, plot, and a bunch of action sequences, along with really great camera work to keep you locked into the story. Even at one point, they had a really cool POV video game type of shooting scene. It was really cool. I wish they would have done more of that, to be honest, like a lot, like throughout the thing of the film. When it wasn't telling the story, but either way, that's more of a nitpick. But there was a lot of parts of scenes that got really over the top, and that is what, for me, personally took me partly out of the story. It wasn't constant, but it was enough, and it was enough silliness. Now, also, I will point out that the whole court scene, something about it was really off. I don't know if it was because it was so unrealistic of how he was acting. I mean, I get where they're coming from with trying to make his character a certain way, but at the time it was just really ridiculous. I will also add the story did feel like it could have been chopped down somewhat as well, but writing wise it was not bad, but again felt longer than it should have, in my opinion. Now here is my personal rating, and I noticed people have disagreements with it, so the reviewers, yes, I checked them out when I went past their thumbnails, but again, here's my rating in my personal opinion. So I will say I enjoyed this film to a degree, but personally it was an okay film and just a little bit above below okay. Unfortunately, it's definitely a film that most likely I'll forget about and never revisit. Uh, I'm uh, I'm not going to put in my personal opinions because I really have none on Yen. I know there's a whole thing about him. People that hate him for certain reasons. I personally don't care either way. But I think he's a good actor and a very, very entertaining martial artist. However, his films that I have seen outside of John Wick 4, or it's not technically his film, it was Keanu Reeves, but he was in it and he did a good job. But outside of John Wick 4, I just can't find a film that I really like him in. And it's not really him. I mean, I like him. He was like a highlight of this, but it's just the writing and just the feel of stuff that I have seen a little of. It just doesn't come to me. And no, I have not seen IP Man, any of the franchise. I want to check that out at some point. I was going to check it out a couple of years ago, but I've heard it's like a huge franchise within the amount of love that IP gets is the amount of love that John Wick franchise gets. You know what I mean? So it's definitely something probably to check out. This one had a good story idea to it, and it's just like there's stuff that can overpower that how it was gone, and then if they go a whole long way. But again, I'm rambling at this point, so leave your thoughts down below either way. Remember, I love you all. Please stay safe. Spread the love most importantly. Skull.